Welcome to another episode of Electable. I'm Deb Chubb, and our podcast is sponsored by Indiana Women's Action Movement. So today, it's a great honor for me to be talking with Jessica McClellan. She's a well-accomplished treasurer from Monroe County, Indiana, who's now running for state treasurer. And so this is really great. I'm just happy to have this opportunity. So Jessica, welcome, and thanks for joining me. So maybe you could start, just give us a little background about yourself. Tell us why you're running.
Thanks for having me, Deb. It's a pleasure to be here. Hello, everybody. I'm Jessica McClellan. I'm running for state treasurer, and like Deb said, I'm the county treasurer in Monroe County, Indiana. I've been working for 6 years as a county treasurer, and we invest the county funds. We invest public funds. We have over $100 million that needs to be invested in Monroe County, and I've been trained to do that, and I've been doing that successfully here for 6 years. Um, One of the reasons I decided to run for state treasurer is because the state treasurer is the chief investment officer for the state, just like I am the chief investment officer for the county. And so my experience really ties in with what the state treasurer does, because investing public funds is not like personal investing. It's not like corporate investing. It's not the stock market. There's a very specific set of rules in state statute. And the rules that I follow at the county, they're the exact same rules that the state treasurer has to follow for the state. And it's very specific, and it's all based around safety and security, because we absolutely have to put safety first when we're talking about stewardship of public funds, of those public tax dollars. So I'm very excited to work in this office. I've gotten to know the staff out there over the last 6 years. I've gotten to know some of the great programs that the state treasurer's office administers. And I think one of the top things that I'm interested in doing as state treasurer is being more of a champion for this office throughout the entire state. As a county treasurer, I know the different counties, I know the different rural areas and the different urban areas, and there's a lot of challenges in funding and in being able to collect enough tax dollars for your community to accomplish your goals. And one of the things the state treasurer can do is help increase investment income. So increase income, real dollars coming back to the community, directly to the schools, to the county. It's not a fund, it's not a grant, it's not a loan. It's real money that we can work with the community and get those dollars back to them. And then another program that the state treasurer has is the Indiana Bond Bank. And we really can offer more affordable financing for projects like fire trucks and school buses and playgrounds, and upgrading your school or upgrading your police station. These kinds of things, county officials and city officials, they wear so many hats. And the treasurer's office is a resource to take that financing piece, take that off the table for you, and give you work on that part of the project for you, and give you offers and give you good financing for projects, so that you know that part is taken care of, and you can move forward with your everyday business for your role. And so the state treasurer's office really for me is a way to ensure that we're investing public funds the way that we're supposed to, being safe and secure and prudent, following state law, but also reaching back out to counties and giving something from the state back to counties and cities across Indiana.
Wow, that's so nice to hear. And I've said it several times now that it really is apparent that Republican supermajority here in Indiana has abandoned, the rural areas. They had long since abandoned urban areas, but now it appears they've also abandoned rural areas. And I was excited to see the federal dollars from the Biden administration that are coming down through the infrastructure bill, that will be $9 billion coming to Indiana, that will be placed into the budgets for infrastructure projects. So they'll be put into the revolving loan fund budget, where communities can get funds to do those big projects, repair water treatment facilities, separate sewers so they don't have combined sewage going, when there's a CSO, a combined sewer overflow, where raw sewage is too much for the water treatment plant and just, spills over into the creek or the lake, wherever, your waterway is. So those are big, huge, important infrastructure projects. And I'm really excited to see those coming down the pike. And so I hope that, your office, can help people, communities get those funds. I mean, particularly communities who have been left out from the state funding. Now that there's federal funding, hopefully we can get it to the communities in Indiana. So can your office do something to help people on those kinds of projects?
Yes, the state treasurer sits on the Indiana Finance Authority, and that agency oversees the revolving loan fund and many other infrastructure agencies, and we are we're very, very dedicated to making sure that rural communities start to catch up with the rest of the country because they are being left behind. There's hospitals closing, there's food deserts, there's childcare deserts, there's even banking deserts, which is a personal goal of mine is to increase financial literacy and the financial stability of Hoosiers across Indiana. But all of these things, they're resulting from crumbling infrastructure in Indiana, where we need to finance projects, infrastructure projects for roads and bridges and waterways and drainage, so that these areas, they're ready for development. They're ready for businesses to come back. They're ready for all counties across our state, all cities. They're fighting. They're fighting tooth and nail to get residents back into their communities, to get jobs for those residents. And it's projects that start with infrastructure that make those changes happen for rural Indiana and urban Indiana. So having a chair on the Indiana Finance Authority is really important to me as a state treasurer to be able to help Indiana grow as an employer and as a good place to live for families.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think, when you talk about manufacturers coming especially rural areas, where there's space for them to come and they can bring good jobs, union jobs perhaps, but not if there's no infrastructure. So, right. And of course, the other part of all that is that, everyone deserves to have clean drinking water. And so,
Mhm.
it's incumbent upon government to really ensure that people can drink the water and breathe the air and play in the soil and not be, poisoned. So all of those infrastructure projects really, really help that out as well. So I want to talk a little bit about the campaign because we're getting these interesting Republican candidates, and I know that your candidate is also someone who has no experience, doesn't really know the job, but he's up there anyway, and it looks like that's kind of a theme. Are you seeing the same theme?
I like the word you use. I have an interesting candidate. Yeah, I do. We all have interesting candidates. I think Democrats have been given a gift this year in the Republican slate of candidates because the Republican moderate is crumbling. And it's because the Republican supermajority has gone so far to the right, away from what logical and uh, families, men and women, parents, grandparents, brothers and sisters, what we want for our families. They've gone so far away from that. And with you see my t-shirt with
Yes.
restricting reproductive rights. I, as a woman, have the right to make a choice about my health care. And then also with election deniers running in the Secretary of State's race. There's a there's just a real dearth of Republican candidates that can really speak to the moderate center of Indiana. Now, I understand that being a Republican is very cultural in Indiana. It's my grandparents were Republican. They served. My parents were Republicans. They've all been elected. There's a long history of Republican support in Indiana, but we are overrepresented by a Republican supermajority in the House. And now with Roe versus Wade falling and our state deciding to erase 50 years of precedent for healthcare rights, we're seeing that center crumble, and we're seeing that Republican candidates don't listen to anyone in the middle. So my candidate, my opponent, does not have any experience in investing public funds. He's been unsuccessful candidate for county office in his county. He's been an unsuccessful opponent of his Republican. He ran against his Republican House rep and lost. He was also elected as part of a four-way election. There were four candidates for state treasurer at the Republican convention, and in that convention, the Republican delegates held a mandate on their disapproval of Governor Holcomb and in his administrative offices, and they voted against. I feel like they voted against logic and common sense, and they voted for the most extreme candidate in their convention. And I don't like to disparage anyone, but I will just say that I'm a gay Midwestern mom, and my opponent is openly against marriage. Between that marriage is only between a man and a woman is his platform. And I understand that we all have different beliefs and we all come from different places, but that's not who I am. And I feel like the middle understands that everybody should be able to live their life and do no harm, and that people come first and families come first. And as a candidate, I just I just don't understand how you can represent all Hoosiers if you take that stance. And so that's not related to the treasurer's office. I mean, his experience is not related to the treasurer's office either. I think we just really need to look at our candidates and try to elect people that really are there with all Hoosiers' best interests in mind. I would have, people like me, people that look like me, I have their best interests in mind. And then we have to consider, people who don't look like me. We need to have advocates at all levels of the state, including the state treasurer's office. Because people that don't look like me, when they're not in elected office, they need an advocate, and they need to be brought to the table. We need everyone at the table to make choices and decisions, and make sure that there's equity in spending, and availability of resources from the state. And so that's something that I'm very passionate about, and I talk a lot about on the campaign trail.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think it's shocking how the extreme candidates, the extreme Republican candidates that we're seeing all over Indiana, for sure, um, are the party now of restriction. They're the party of regulation, the party of regulating people's bodies, people's health care, regulating people's education, regulating who you can love. That it's such a kind of a turnaround, isn't it? I mean, certainly not what they present. They like to present as the party of liberty, personal freedoms. But that's just not true. It really just is not true. They are now the party of regulating everything, and everything you read, everything you see in schools, people you love, and what you do with your own body. I mean, the
Hmm.
ultimate kind of over regulation. So
Hmm.
it's just frightening, and I think we're seeing a lot of Republicans like that. And of course, the notion that we are electing, or well, hopefully not, but that we might have an elected person in office, a Republican who doesn't believe in democracy. Where do you go from there? That if you don't even believe that an election is valid, when given all of the evidence that it is, where do you go? I mean, if you don't even believe in democracy, then
Hmm.
I just can't imagine where we end up after this. It's kind of this, kind of idolatry of, one guy, which is just bizarre and frightening, frightening. I mean, and people like me who are old enough to, know their history, have seen this before, and it's horrible. It's horribly frightening. But I think, again, another reason why we need to be able to have access to our true history. So we
Hmm.
know what happened before. I mean, if you just
Hmm.
can't, you must learn from your own history.
I
So
think that's a reason why we're so excited to be running on this ticket, is that we present such a contrast to the Republican ticket this year. Um, we we present the facts, we present evidence, and we present experience. Let the voters decide, who's being honest, who's being up forthright with them and saying, look, this is what we plan to do. And if you want your state led in a good direction, where we have, uh, access for all, where politics is about people, we're going to go get away from these issues that are non-issues, like worrying about the 2020 election and whether or not that was, a fake election or not. Those are not issues that are benefiting Hoosiers. And Democrats over and over again present candidates that really want to work for the people and want to get the job done. And that's what this whole slate, from Destiny Wells to Zanae Brooks for auditor, Destiny Wells for Secretary of State, Zanae Brooks for auditor, and myself for state treasurer, we are ready to work. And we understand checks and balances better than the Republican side does right now. We can be the bad guy, and we're also going to be the good guy. We're going to be the bad guy and ask the hard questions, and we're going to be the good guy because we care about families and people, and reaching out to communities that the Republican supermajority has ignored for the past 20 years. We're going to change that.
excellent. Yeah. And I agree. I've never seen a more overqualified slate of candidates for those statewide offices. You are
Thank you.
all so overqualified for each of the offices that you are seeking. And I will say that I have talked to a lot of Republicans who said, "Oh yes, I voted straight ticket Republican last time or the time before, and I will never do it again." And it's because they saw that the result was these people that they put on the ballot, the Republicans that they put on the ballot, had no experience, no idea what they're doing, and now they're trying to run local government, and it's a disaster. I know in my county we've spent tens of thousands of dollars just recently having to redo all the property taxes because the Republican who was in there, he'd been kind of a loudmouth for many years, and then finally got elected to the auditor position, and doesn't know what he's doing, and he screwed up all the property tax bills.
Mhm.
So, and we're seeing that in many of the down ballot positions that Republicans got because of this, the straight ticket voting. And so I'm talking to a lot of Republicans now who understand now, okay, well, I'm going to have to look at each candidate, I think, which is great, because we need qualified, experienced people in these positions in particular. They're
Yeah.
complicated, and they but this is good governance. Government has a place, and government has a great place, a great role to play in people's lives, but it
Mhm.
has to be competent.
Yeah.
And so you have to elect competent people to these positions. So
Yes, you have to elect people who want to do the work. And coming from county government, I know there's a big learning curve in learning government versus private sector is very, very different. And my role now is not a policymaking role, and my role in the state will not be a policymaking role. And I know that we have got so much state statute that very strictly outlines our roles and duties and what we're allowed to do. But I love rules, and I understand the rules of being a county treasurer, and I'm very familiar with the rules of being a state treasurer. And once you understand the rules and you see yourself as a watchdog and a check and balance, you start to see, where the rules in government really are set up to benefit people. And we need somebody there who, when I say asks the hard questions, we need somebody there who's going to ask, this rule is in place for a reason, and why aren't we following it? Why aren't we measuring our metrics? Why aren't we meeting our mandates for this, for investing a certain way? Or why aren't we meeting our mandates for contracting a certain way? Or why aren't we following process for signing contracts and getting bids on contracts and making sure that state government is up to code on everything it's supposed to be doing? That's there for a reason, for transparency and to make sure for I, I'm going to say the C word, corruption. That's
Yeah.
there for a reason to keep us safe and solvent and stable. And we're financially beholden to Hoosiers, and they have a right to know that we're following the rules that we said we would. So
Right.
that's
And,
something I
Indiana.
really believe in.
Oh, good. Yeah, Indiana has a sad history of kind of Republicans giving away contracts to cronies, and then turning out to be, super fraudulent, and then, kind of slow walking their cases to get the money back.
Hmm.
That just makes me crazier than ever. They find, oh, it was like $85 billion. I can't remember which one it was. It was some computer program that did a terrible job for the state. And it's like, oh yeah, they defrauded the government for 85 million dollars or something. And then it's like, okay, well, when are we going to get that money back? And then you don't hear anything. And it's like, you guys even trying to get that money back? So
Hmm.
that is very frustrating, and we have a history of that, unfortunately, in our Republican-led administration. So yes, I am very excited about having you in office to be making sure that all that money that I keep talking about coming to our state is spent properly and carefully and is not stolen from the state. We've got a bad history with that, so we need to fix that. So, all right. So tell us, so I know you're moving around a lot, and you and Jessica, I'm sorry,
Or,
keep doing that. You and Destiny and Zane are driving all over the state and getting all over, and that's so important. And I know we need to make sure everybody knows about how great the three of you are,
mhm.
and what a
Thank you.
terrific administration you'll make. So tell us how you're doing on the campaign. How can people help you, and how can people reach you?
Oh, great. Yes. Well, today I'm going to Columbus, and then I'm going to Dearborn County dinner. And tomorrow, let's see, I think I'm going to Valpo. I'm going to Valparaiso.
Oh,
So
by
if you
me.
want to come
Okay.
to a
Great.
candidate meet and greet in Valparaiso, I will be there. I can put that up on my social media where I'm going to be.
Excellent.
And then on Sunday, I'm going to be in Martinsville in the Fall Festival Parade. So we'd love to have anybody from the north. If you're heading down south to see the fall colors, maybe stop in Martinsville and go to the Fall Festival Parade with your family. That would be a great place to see me.
Wonderful.
I love direct contact with anybody who's interested in talking to me. My email is on my website, and I have social media, so that's a great way to contact me. Um, I want to talk about county captains. Since I'm running statewide, I'm part of the coordinated campaign. So counties should have a county captain that's working with the state to organize phone banking and texting for the statewide ticket. So that's Destiny and myself and Zane. So up there in the north, I'm sure you have county captains, as well as a lit piece that is going to come from the state that can go out with you while you knock doors. It's going to have Tom, Destiny, me, and Zane on it. It's a
Excellent.
beautiful lit piece. It's going to hit the region really hard. They're sending a lot up there, so you should be seeing it very shortly. Writing postcards is another activity that a women's group are led by Regina Moore, and I think Deb, you're involved in that as
Uh-huh.
well.
Yes.
There is a way to get postcards shipped to you if you want to write postcards they'll send you a targeted list. So you'll get a list of people, you'll get a stack of postcards, and your donation is your time and a roll of postcard stamps.
Oh,
And so
that's
you write
excellent.
to a person, you put their address on there and say, please vote for these amazing candidates, and we send those out. It's very exciting. I would definitely urge people to reach out to your county directly, reach out through my website, through my email, and yeah,
So what's your
let's.
website?
My website's jessicaforindiana.com. So
Excellent. Excellent.
Jessica, my name, and then the word for, not the letter or not the number four, but the word for, jessicaforindiana.com.
Excellent, excellent. Oh, wonderful. So, I mean, it's a thrill talking to you. It's a wonderful, in all my many years of doing this kind of work, I mean, I don't think I ever understood what the treasurer did. And I'm so excited to have someone running who knows what it is and knows what it means and has all the qualifications to do a great job.
Thank you so much, Deb. Thanks. I'm so excited to have you and the women of Indiana behind me 1000%. And you've been
Yes,
such a great resource and cheerleader and networking
yes.
guru. I mean, just having this network of all the women across Indiana, like reaching out and sharing our story and our experience and our candidacy with their friends and neighbors has really, really helped us a lot, and I appreciate it so much. So thank you.
Well, that's great. And once people get to know you, they just love you. So we
Thank you,
just have
Deb.
to make sure people know you. Just
Yeah,
to find
exactly, exactly. Yeah,
right.
yeah.
All right. All right. Well, good luck on your travels. I know you're all over the place. And hopefully we'll get to check in again soon.
Sounds great. Yes, I hope so. Let's do it again soon. Thanks, Deb.